To speak on public hearing item 6.2. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person. We did not receive any written communication. I didn't receive any public comment cards, and we don't have anyone virtually raising their hands.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. We will now, there's no objection by the members of the City Council. I will close public participation for public hearing item number 6.2. And if there's no further questions or comments for this item, I will close the public hearing at 7:56 p.m. With that said, is there any motion on the floor?
I move to waive full reading, the introduction ordinance number 957 by title only to approve the proposed development agreement number 2023-073 for a cannabis retail storefront at 7821 Eastern Avenue.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez and a second by Councilmember Barcena. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barcena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillen,
No.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa,
Yes.
and Mayor Chavez.
That'll be no.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We will now move on to public participation on non-agenda items. City Clerk, please announce the instructions.
Thank you. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute period. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may make a request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person. We did not receive any written comments.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. I'd like to announce BC.
I should wait for the mayor since I'm supposed to direct my comments to the mayor.
You can direct him to the mayor pro temp if you like, sir.
Okay. Well, it's good to be back. I see things have changed a little bit of progress. We got up to 40% of the council disapproving of the pot shops, which have absolutely no benefit to anybody, especially the kids and the youth organization. I mean, can the kids, hit a one-hit bong and then go play in their game out there? What's wrong with that? It's all a benefit, right? How are the reading scores at the schools? Are they rising? The educators, everybody that supports it? Is it helping improving the math skills of students? We've been through this before. The physical side of it too. How much does, if you hit some kush, does it scar the lungs? Does it scar the lungs just as much as tobacco? Do you ever think of that? Probably not. And why would anybody want to buy your government ragweed if it's going to be regulated and so-called safe? They'd rather buy it privately from somebody. They'd get a better buzz out of it. Yeah, but government ragweed, why would you want to buy that? There's no reason to buy that. So why don't you hand out needles and one-hit bongs and roach clips and everything else to, facilitate the consumption of marijuana? I mean, in the state of California, you can grow 6 of your own plants. Takes a little work, But you know, the best part is you can get your own buds off the female and it's kind of gooey still. And you could put it in your bong while it's not quite dried out. But that takes a little work. So we're going to have all these special types of pot in the shop that you won't even advertise for. It's so good, you won't even put a flower out front. Unbelievable. Do you see the contradiction in your vote for yes? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Had so much more hope for you. Anyway, wasn't what I was mainly here for. I just wanted to bring your attention to the chemtrails that are being sprayed upon us every day, just about. Does anybody know what is in those chemtrails? Oh, it's called geoengineering. That's the official word for it. Have you provided any information of what is going on in these things? What is being dumped upon us? What it's supposed to do? It's supposed to block out the sun. Just think, this stuff is coming down on us and going into our lungs and on our food and on the planet, all for the phony thing of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. If there's no objection by the members of City Council, I will close public participation on non-agenda item and open public participation on agenda item. City Clerk, please announce instructions.
Thank you. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. And when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber. And we did not receive any written communication.
I'd like to call up BC.
As in the words of Pauly Shore, I'm back. Excuse you. Couple of things. The interesting part is the reason why you can't be taken that seriously because people don't trust you. I mean, you get these propositions passed when you have a 30% voter turnout because they don't have any faith in you to do the right thing, to do anything with common sense. And they can't trust you to be honest. I mean, I'm honest. I hate Alex Jones. You know, I'm honest. Don't go to Infowars.com. Why can't you just be honest about it? The other thing is that we did the lip service to the police force and every police officer, when in reality, you're putting one arm behind their back when it comes to enforcing the laws and the rule of law throughout the county. I mean, we're talking about benefits to youth, housing for smoking pot and stuff like that. But that's just all part of the defund the police program that you get from LA County, the state of California. We can defund the police, but we can have nonprofits line up and we can give them money because they will house people in the neighborhoods or in programs and put these violent criminals back out on the street. That's what it's designed to do. What you need is more police officers, boots on the ground, not staff, not bureaucracy. You need real officers on the ground, more, and you need to support them. You need to let them use both hands when enforcing the law. Now, we know you don't want to enforce the law. Look at Tarjeta Roja. You're not willing to enforce immigration laws. You're trying to protect people to break our laws. That's exactly what you're doing. And you put it under the guise of we're here to protect residents. Sad show. Sad show. That's why you're going to lose federal funding. And it's already happening. So it's time to get with it. Understand, people want the laws enforced. And they want cooperation. And the city manager needs to direct the chief of police to cooperate with federal officials. And everybody on the council needs to support that. Because otherwise you're allowing rapists and murderers to kill American citizens, and you don't care. You even flying them in and busing them in and turning them loose, and it's not appreciated. So change direction. Thank you.
There's no objection by the members of the city council. I will close public participation and moving on to external committee.
I think my colleague wanted to make a comment. He was gesturing at me.
Do you have any comments?
I'll make a comment during public comment for the
perfect.
council comment, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for that. If we will now move on to item number 9, external committee update. Does any member of the council have anything to report for their external committee reports? All right. Seeing none, I'll just go ahead and say, Cal Cities did not meet in the month of, hasn't met yet in the month of May. We will not meet in the month of May until June. I believe the meeting is June 5th. It's a Thursday. And it'll be here at the USC, right here, not too far. So with that said, that concludes my comment or my update. And if there's no more comments or updates, I will go on to Mr. City Manager. Take it away.
Thanks again, Mayor Chavez. This report's a little bit longer as we don't have a second council meeting in the month of May due to Memorial Day. So first off, I just want to start again to reintroduce Manuel Acosta, the new Community Development Director. You've heard him a little bit today with the 2 public hearings. So I want to welcome Manuel. He comes to us from the City of Bell. He's been the Community Development Director for the last 5 years there, and then he has several decades of experience prior to that in redevelopment, economic development, planning, code enforcement, all the things that we do in our community development department. So I'd like to welcome Manuel. I'd also at the same time like to thank John Ramirez. John's sitting in the front row here. John's been holding things down or doing more than holding things down in the community development department for the last approximately 9 weeks or so. Sometimes when we're in between directors, we'll hire people that are retired but have the expertise to be able to come in, hit the ground running. And oftentimes they serve as gatekeepers. They know they're not going to be here this long. They help out. John's done a tremendous job in the community development department, really pushed a lot of things forward, put a lot of energy into the position. Even on Friday or Thursday, which was his last day prior to Manuel coming on board, still dealt with some very difficult issues that you normally don't always have to deal with on your last day for an interim gig. So I just like to say thank you to John on behalf of the staff, the department heads. And I think the council probably recognizes there's been a lot of work in community development that we've really kept things pushing forward, not just holding status quo. So happy to have Manuel here to still kind of talk with John a little bit before John moves on to his next adventures as a young retiree. So thanks to both of them and welcome to Manuel. Also want to mention, just as we move forward, always a plug on Wednesdays. We have our open art studio available at Veterans Park. On Fridays, we have our resident art and yard sale at Veterans Park from 11 to 3:30. And then if you also check the calendar, we have our farmers market that free food is available twice a month. On Wednesday, April 30th, that was the deadline for the Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta Art and Essay Contest. The Education Commission is responsible for selecting winners, so that will be coming out soon. On Thursday, May 1st, we hosted Montebello Unified School District Student Leadership Day here at City Hall for the students that were from Bell Gardens High School. And then this year, we were also responsible for hosting the larger gathering over at the Bicycle Hotel and Casino. There were 300 participants. I'd like to thank everybody for their support in that. Primarily want to thank the Recreation Community Services staff, Director Nava, for all the coordination of the event, going back out about 10 or 11 months ago and leading up to the day, to the point where even our Recreation Community Services staff were actually the food service line, the ones that were serving the food there as well. They were all dressed in black, looked very professional. You wouldn't realize it was Recreation Community Services staff that were serving food. It seemed as though it was a professional food service organization. So that went very well. It was an opportunity for the city to showcase itself within the Montebello Unified School District. Also, there were representatives from Pico Rivera, City of Commerce, City of Montebello, and I think I caught all the cities. If not, there was no offense meant. So Monterey Park as well. Yes. Thank you, Councilmember. And then on Friday, May 2nd, we had another deadline. This was for submission of information for the high school graduate banner program. That program continues to grow. So last checking, we had over 70 applicants. We have 2 portrait sessions that are scheduled and available for the students that want their actual physical picture to be on the banners. One has already occurred and there's another one coming up. So those that applied are aware of that information. Also on Friday, May 2nd, the Community Family Services Center hosted a Stay Housed LA workshop at 5 p.m. at Ross Hall. Well attended. There were over 50 attendees at this workshop. At the end of the workshop, attendees were able to take advantage of one-on-one meetings with tenants' rights professionals. Kind of in that same vein, I want to note one of the things that we've done in community development, John was kind of leading this. We were holding a monthly workshop for property owners, a monthly workshop for residents that had become very lightly attended. And so what we shifted to is one-on-one meetings for residents and or property owners that are interested, and we're doing marketing for that. In addition, if you haven't noticed, I've noticed, but pay attention at different city events, whether that be Neighborhood Watch or our big events like the Skate Jam and things like that. Our housing department has been doing outreach and setting up tables at those events. Also, one of the last things before I move on, also just want to mention our housing group is out there going door to door, talking to tenants and property owners to really get boots on the ground to determine and make sure that residents know their rights, and also determine if there are properties out there that have not registered for our rental registry, which is a requirement. So we send out all the letters, the notifications and that, and now it's a little bit more of the nitty gritty going out there and working their way through the city, hitting 200 houses at a time to figure out who has not registered yet. And the purpose of that registration, predominantly is to be able to enforce the city's rental protection ordinance, so we know who's out there. So a lot of work going on there, so very appreciative of that. On Saturday, May 3rd, Athens hosted their curbside cleanup where residents had bulky items that were picked up for free. For anybody that's listening, our Key Links website on our city website has a link to Athens as well. If anybody wants to just schedule bulky item pickups. On Saturday, May 3rd at 9 a.m., the police department hosted their youth community cleanup with a cop at Marlowe Park, also well attended. Thursday, May 8th, that was the deadline for the scholarship program. That's $10,000 in scholarships available. Education Commission's also responsible for selecting the winners there. This Friday and Saturday, due to the temperatures increasing significantly and somewhat unseasonally into the low 90s, we had 2 cooling center locations opened both Friday and Saturday. Just for the councils, those are lightly attended cooling centers mostly, but for the 3 or 4 or 5 people that may show up, I think they're very important, and they're generally facilities that are already open anyway. So it's not like we're bringing in staff to open; we're just making it available. So those cooling centers, I think we've been opening for the last 4 or 5 years. I think we've been successful. From a perception perspective, as well as from a reality perspective as well. This Wednesday, May 14th, we're scheduled to have a community budget workshop at 6 p.m. at Ross Hall. Later tonight, we also have a budget presentation for the council. On Thursday, May 15th, that's this Thursday, we have the skate jam at the skate park from 6 to 9. It's not just for skaters. The school has no school on Friday, so it shouldn't be a problem for students to be out that late to see DJs. There's usually free food. There's skate shops and opportunities to win some prizes and things like that. So a unique event, I think, is unique to Bell Gardens from what I've seen other cities doing at their skate parks. This Saturday, May 17th, there's a resident compost giveaway with Athens at Ford Park from 8 to 11 a.m. I think in the past few years, the compost has been a success, and I think we've given out pretty much all the compost that's available. So that's great to keep moisture down on plants and to keep weeds from growing, and I think the residents of Bell Gardens recognize that and take advantage of it. Also this Saturday, That ends at 11 a.m. We have a used oil and filter exchange event at AutoZone. So residents can receive up to 2 new oil filters for their vehicles in exchange for old oil filters, which can be hard to get rid of otherwise. And also to receive a new oil recycling kit. So that includes funnel, some cleanup rags, a container to properly receive oil. And I think a lot of residents take advantage of that. Typical oil change 75 to $100. Do it yourself's like $30 to $40. So for those that do it, there's a great opportunity. Sorry, I'm going long here, but again, we've got a lot of events coming up and we don't have another council meeting here for a few weeks. On Sunday, May 18th at 10 a.m., the Neighborhood Watch is having their annual Blue Mass across the street here at St. Gertrude's. On Thursday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. at Ross Hall, we have one of our series of financial literacy workshops with a focus on savings and budgeting. On Monday, May 26th at 10 a.m., that's Memorial Day, we have a joint Memorial Day event with the City of Commerce here at the Park Lawn Cemetery right on Gage. We did this for the first time last year. It was successful, joining forces with the city for cost savings and to just put more of an emphasis on services at an actual cemetery that has deceased veterans. On Wednesday, May 28th at 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. This is another big event. We're hosting South Base Workforce Investment Board's 5th annual hiring event at Ross Hall. So we have a lot of partners involved in that from other labor groups. The South Bay Workforce brings a lot of people in. So this is an opportunity for Bell Gardens residents and regional residents to come and actually meet with people that are interviewing and are able to hire there on the spot. On Wednesday, May 28th at 6 p.m. at Ross Hall, we will have our second town hall meeting with the mayor. The first one was successful, I think somewhere in the 60 to 70 people in attendance. So looking to continue to build on that. We'll have some additional translation services available to help things run smoother at this next town hall meeting. On Saturday, May 31st, we have an LA Galaxy family excursion. Signups are open now. So I think the fee is $25 per person for Bell Gardens residents. And these events are always highly participated in. A great opportunity for the cost for what you get as far as transportation, tickets, and things like that. So signups available now. And then to just close out, I just want to mention on the consent agenda, there's always several items of interest for residents, businesses, stakeholders in Bell Gardens, including this consent calendar, the city's recognition of Juneteenth, National Independence Day, that commemorates the ending of slavery in the United States. This would be the first time that the city recognizes that Memorial Day. Also a more formal recognition of Veterans Day in lieu of just employees having a floating holiday. So that item would include the removal of the floating holiday and designation as Veterans Day as an actual holiday for the city of Bell Gardens. Also, the consent item includes an agreement for economic development services that includes additional work on the vacant property issue that was discussed at the last council meeting. So that is included in that agreement. And then finally, being Public Works Week, happens to be fortuitous that there's 3 items included on the consent item that directly impact road and sidewalk conditions, as well as that also then impact traffic and pedestrian safety in Bell Gardens. The first one is adopting the list of street gutter sidewalk projects that'll be funded with just over $1 million from SB1 state gas tax monies. Number 2, an amendment to the agreement with the company that maintains and services all of the city's traffic signals. And finally, number 3, the rebidding to make sure that we get this right of almost $5 million of ATP Cycle 5 grant funds that'll be used for sidewalks, driveways, curb ramps, streets, alley intersections, curbs, and gutters to ensure the success of these grant-funded projects. So with that, I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much for that, City Manager. I really appreciate all the work that's being done and all the activity from all the various departments. And also the summary of what's to come literally on the consent calendar. All right. We will now move on to consent calendar items 11.1 to 11.10. Does any member of the council successor agency wish to pull an item for separate discussion? if there's no pulling, I will go ahead and pull one item. And it is for the item, what is it? It is 11.6, which is consideration for resolution approving PSA between City of Bell Gardens and M&S Engineers. I think this is an item about economic development. I know in the last council meeting, we had an item about economic development and in regards to consulting services and preparation for our city and how we can model the city. So, City Attorney?
Mayor, can we get a motion to approve all consent items with the exception of 11.6 first, and then we'll come back to 11.6?
Yes.
I move to approve all items with the exception of 11.6.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second, motion by Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez, a second by Councilwoman Guillen. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? All right, ayes have it. 11.6.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. So, 11.6, just as we don't have a PowerPoint for this, but the initial idea here was back when the budget was developed for fiscal year 24-25, and working with the previous community development director, there was a need that's been recognized for the last few years that we should put some energy and effort and some resources into an economic development marketing plan for ICSC event and the national one, and then also for local events. Basically a marketing plan that we should be able to get a couple of years use out of, so that when there are developers, businesses that are looking for places to locate, that we have professional documentation with drone footage, imagery, that really shows why Bell Gardens is a place for business to want to locate. In addition to, so we put out an RFP, reviewed the proposals, made a recommendation of M&S Engineers for this purpose, and then re-engaged them after the previous council meeting to talk about the issues that we discussed with the council regarding vacant properties and our ability to look at the list of vacant properties, weed out some of them where there may not be much opportunity for obvious reasons if they're owned by a school district or things like that. But then to focus on certain properties where there seems to be clear opportunity there to determine, who the owner is, what are the barriers that the owner may see or face in wanting to sell that property or develop that property themselves. And so that additional work was included into the scope of the agreement for this contract, and I believe raised the price from somewhere in the $49,000 range right to approximately $60,000. But staff, I know, again, speaking with the former community development director, the recent interim community development director, and the current community development director, who was included in this process as we were going through the RP, agree that this is something that the money's well spent and will benefit the city over a number of years. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, Mayor.
Thank you so much for that, City Manager. I really appreciate the summary. And I believe we have someone also from M&S Engineers here to
Damien on Zoom.
Damien on Zoom. Yep.
So Mayor, just also the representatives that were here in person from M&S had a health emergency, which I'm understanding things have gone fine and are under control. I don't, Hylas, do you see Damien
He
on
was,
the?
yeah, he was raising his hand.
There we go. Hi. Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Damien Delaney. I'm with M&S. And yes, unfortunately, one of my staff members had a bit of a medical emergency, or she would be able to be there. I'm here to answer any questions you may have regarding our proposal at this time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Damien. Really appreciate you taking the time and for joining us virtually. I had a quick question in regards to your experience when it comes to engagement with the cities. Who have been some of your previous clients, and any successes, in development and perhaps maybe nearby cities, pertaining to the Southeast LA region.
We're currently working with Huntington Park. In the past, in a previous life, I worked with different cities throughout the Southeast region, including Rosemead in the San Gabriel Valley, Riverside out in the IE, We've worked in Long Beach. We're currently working in Long Beach with their economic development program, as well as the city of Anaheim in their economic development department. We've created marketing plans for both of them over the years that have been very successful as well.
Got it. This is, I had an item, we had an item, I should say, as a council last week in regards to identifying perhaps some top 5 to 10 priorities across the city, and how to engage with some of the stakeholders and trying to maybe perhaps nudge them into developing their plots. And I'm kind of curious, in your experience, having worked with HP, Rosemead, Riverside, Long Beach, Anaheim, if you've encountered any of those issues and what's been your success in achieving these challenges.
Well, I wish Christine was here to talk about it because she was very instrumental in both in all the cities that we've worked in. She is my marketing person. One of the things that I know she likes to do is, instead of handing out like all these papers at conferences, which can get very cumbersome, she likes to put them on like a business card that has a little flash drive associated with it. So then you can just plug it in and everything will pop up, or create a QR code for the property. That has been very successful in the past. I know she's worked with different developers in all the cities that have run into some of the issues that you've mentioned, that folks may not want to, they just don't want to keep it as a tax write-off right now, and that's not great for the city. So we've kind of helped them overcome that, working, being the liaison between the city and the property owner or the developer to help get that development moving forward.
Got it. Thank you so much, Damien. I appreciate it. Any other members of the council have any questions or comments in regards to this item? All right. Well, if there's no more questions or comments, I'll go ahead and thank you so much, Damien, for joining us. Appreciate it virtually for you being here. And then with that said, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve this item 11.6.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Mayor Chavez, second by Councilwoman Guillen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. All right. Moving on. Yeah. It's 8:28. We still have a couple more items in the agenda, so we'll go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back at 8:33.
Mayor, the meeting is now back on.
Thank you so much for that, City Clerk. And we will now move on to discussion item number 12.1, local commissioners appointment list. Is there any member of the council who wish to make an appointment or change or add or?
I'd just like to make a comment. I think it's our due diligence when we appoint that we remind them of the time commitment, only because the Education Commission hasn't happened this year, the meetings, because there's been, I don't know, lack of quorum or somebody just doesn't show. So I think we should remind them and, hold them to that standard that they're here for the community and these meetings are important. That's it.
Great. Any of them want to add, anybody change?
Yeah, I want to say that I apologize for the delay on my behalf. I do want to get someone appointed ASAP, but I've had a few people that were indecisive, so I want to make sure I also get that time commitment locked in.
Thank you for that.
I would like to appoint Karina Garcia for the Senior Citizens Commission.
Perfect. Anybody else want to make changes or additions? All right, seeing none, can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Karina
Second.
Garcia.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman McGee and second by Councilman Barcena. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, ayes have it. All right, there's no more additions or changes. We will move on to item 12.2. Mr. City Manager, take it away.
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Chavez. This item is regarding the Consulate General of Mexico. They have a program that they call Consulate on Wheels. This item's been discussed a few times over the last 12 to 18 months, and I think there was, some more direct direction given by the council as part of renewed effort on immigration services and providing information to local residents. And so staff has been working with the consulate, and we believe that we've come to a good resolution here to provide some services. I'll stop talking and turn it over to Liz Nava, our Recreation Community Services Director, to go through the presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Give me 1 second. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. This is a really quick item just to discuss a new program that we'll be bringing into the city of Bell Gardens called Consulado General de México Programa Consulado sobre Ruedas 2025. Basically, it's Consulate on Wheels program that we're going to be bringing here to Bell Gardens. So just as a brief background, the Consulate General of Mexico in Los Angeles is the largest Mexican consulate that is represented abroad, so outside of Mexico. And it serves all 88 cities in Los Angeles and in Los Angeles County, which is widespread. And they exist to defend and protect the dignity, rights, and interests of Mexican nationals. So some of the functions of the consulate is to issue travel and identification documents, perform civil registry functions, process powers of attorneys, and carry out other administrative functions. So the Consulate on Wheels program was designed to increase accessibility to the consulate resources by actually coming into local cities so that residents of Los Angeles County didn't have to drive into downtown LA. The consulate is actually going out into these communities to bring their services. And the way they do that is that they partner with local municipalities and different organizations to set up an office space on site. So, get in some water. To set up on site local office spaces so that the community has easy access to the consulate. So for the City of Bell Gardens staff, we received notification that this program was wanting to come into the City of Bell Gardens. And so we met with consulate staff and went to our neighborhood youth center and found that that was a really good location for this program. So the consulate had walked the site. We made some minor upgrades to get some internet speed, but the space and the availability of the space is a perfect match for the program. And so their hope is to have many iterations of this program in the City of Bell Gardens. The first one to take place starting as soon as this June. The program will have a grand opening and a ribbon cutting ceremony. So once we discuss that with the consulate, we'll come back to council and inform you all. But we really want to put this program out there and let the residents know. So we'll have a nice grand opening and ribbon cutting. So the services will be for the entire month of June, and they'll be from Tuesday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that'll be at the Neighborhood Youth Center. And then the staff expect that the consulate program will return 2 more times before the end of the year, as is necessary for the consulate and the availability of the space, which we expect will have full availability. And then in the future, we'll continue to work with them and provide the Consulate on Wheels program here in the city. So just really quickly, the fiscal impact is very minimal. It'll be approximately $1,800 a month. However, this does include a one-time internet upgrade that we did for the youth center. But that also includes staff costs, a couple of staff on site, as well as the utilities that we anticipate. But that amount is currently covered in our fiscal budget. So just really quickly again to review, the City of Bell Gardens will host the Consulate on Wheels program at the Neighborhood Youth Center. We'll start the first Tuesday in June. The program will run from Tuesday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we do expect to host many of these programs here in the city. So staff's recommendation is just to receive and file this report. And I'm available for any questions. And actually joining us also this evening, we have Paola, who is one of the consulate staff. And I want to thank her for being so patient and waiting for our item to come up. But she will also be available to take some questions if you have any questions specifically about the program.
Thank you so much, Director Nava, for the presentation, and thank you so much, City Manager. Really appreciate the expeditious process to be able to get this program up and running. And I also want to thank Consulate Representative Paola Valdez, who's also present here with us virtually. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments?
I have a question. So you said it's starting June 3rd, Tuesday through Saturday. Is it going to be the whole month of June?
That's correct. The plan is to do the entire month of June, and the first day will be Tuesday, June 3rd.
Thank you.
Perfect. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I do. I want to thank you, Liz and Paola and RCM, but I also want to thank you, Mayor. I know you've been an advocate of this for a while. You've been working on it for a while, and it's going to be a gem, great for our community. So thank you for bringing this into our community. I know a lot of the residents have asked for this. We have a large population that will benefit from this, our neighbors, mothers, whatever it is. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, I just again want to say thank you to everybody who's made this be successful. I am looking forward to being there June 3rd, to seeing this unveil and announce. This is truly, I think, historic for our community. The fact that now we're going to have this program here available to the residents. Like Councilwoman Guillen mentioned, there is a huge predominant Mexican community here in the City of Bell Gardens. And instead of having to drive to MacArthur Park, where with the consulate is, now they're going to have this opportunity here in the City of Bell Gardens. It's going to go a long way. So I really appreciate everybody who's made this possible. Thank you, City Manager. I feel like it was the first meeting in April where we brought this up for in my closing council member comments, and the fact that it's May and we're getting the wheels running, no pun intended. It's great. So again, I really appreciate all of the expeditiousness and all of the staff time that's gone into this. And thank you as well to Paola and the Consulate General, Ministro Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez, for being patient and serving alongside with us. So with that said, if there's no more comments or questions, I will ask for a motion to approve this item.
Move to receive and file.
I'll second that. Can we get a roll call for this?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa,
Yes.
and Mayor Chavez.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. All right, moving on to our final item, 12.3, proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. City Manager, take it away.
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Chavez. As you stated, it's the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget. Before I turn it over to Manuel Carrillo for the presentation, just want to mention this process starts about approximately 3 to 4 months ago. The departments start putting things together, looking at the services that the city currently provides, any new services that have either come about due to funding or through council direction. And then we also look at just cost increases, things like that, that are economic driven, that we don't have that much control over. Gather up all this information and put it into a responsible budget to present to the council. And that process has been what we followed again this year as other previous years. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Finance Administrative Services Director, Manuel Carrillo, to go through the presentation. Thank you, man. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this evening I will be providing an overview of our proposed budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. Our projected fiscal year 24-25 year-end budget has a projected deficit of 3.3 million at year-end. Fiscal year 25-26 budget is projected to be balanced with no surplus or deficit. For our 25-26 budget includes the final year of the 3-year labor agreements that were signed, of course, and of course this is the final year of that of the 3 years. The next item is the the vacancy rate that we're looking to project is at 7.5% for the fiscal year. Card room revenue is reduced from the previous year. As the city manager mentioned, we're including and projecting a transfer of about 2.6 million from cannabis to the general fund. And the aquatic center includes half a year of programming of expenditures, which we project will come out to about 2.2 million for the fiscal year.
And Manuel, before you switch from this, just for the council's perspective, this is really meant to be an overview of how do things look a little bit different on the surface at a big picture level, this year's budget versus previous year's budget. You know, I think Manuel, as we're working on things, we know what the card room revenues look like when they took a dip in the fall of last year. We brought that to council, I think, on 2 different occasions to report that to council. But I don't want to gloss over the deficit of $3.3 million. That I don't think we've seen a deficit like that in a number of years, probably going back to COVID. So that's $3.3 million that even if the card room gets back to where it was before, even better, that hole will remain unfilled. So that'll end up being projected use of fund balance for the fiscal year that we sit in today that ends on June 30th. So only maybe 50 days from now, give or take. And then from a going forward perspective, still assume there will be challenges with card room revenue, even though things are better than what they were from their low point. We're not projecting them to be at the levels that we included in last year's budget. And then, as Manuel said, we talked a little bit early about cannabis revenues and what that could be used to support. So predominantly what you'll see, we'll have a presentation, a slide, will be that we've got the aquatic center opening up with a significant expenditure outlay, and we're projecting the need to use some of those revenues to supplement the general fund, which is their intended purpose based on what the council adopted as part of the ordinance and the development agreements. So I'll take it away again, Manuel. I apologize. I'll probably interrupt a few times here and there. Manuel, I spent a lot of time on the detail of it and just want to make sure the council is fully informed. Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir. Not a problem. So for fiscal year 24-25, the general fund budget was adopted with a surplus of 72,000. The mid-year projection was updated to reflect a significant reduction in revenues as well as a slight increase in expenditures, resulting in a projected deficit of 3.8 at mid-year. For 24-25 at year-end, we were projecting a lower than expected deficit of 3.3 million, primarily due to improved year-end casino revenue figures. At the end of 23-24, the City of Bell Gardens fund balance was audited and confirmed at 37.9 million as part of its annual financial audit process. As mentioned, at year end 24-25, we are projecting a reduction in fund balance of about 3.3 million, resulting in an expected fund balance of 34.6 million at June 30th, 2025. The Bell Gardens Aquatic Center will have a projected general fund expenditure commitment of approximately 14 million upon project completion, which we will eventually result in an overall fund balance of approximately 20.6 million after all expenditures are finalized.
And Manuel, before you move on, so just, this is something, again, we talk about the mid-year, but if you look at this fund balance of 37.9 million, that's an audited number from about 10 months ago already. That number was approximately 19 million in June of 2019. So from a 5-year period of time, that fund balance went from 19 million to almost $38 million. That's through council direction over those years, whether that was through sales tax measures, through cost efficiencies, through looking at the true cost of water rates, things of that nature. And the purpose over that time, again, was to gather up resources to pay what would ultimately be our share of the aquatic center. So we've got $16 million worth of grant funding, but the city is still going to need to put in $14 million towards that aquatic center. Even after that, and even after this dip that we saw in the card room revenues, we'll still be $3 million, have $3 million more, I'm sorry, about $2 million more in fund balance than we did 5 years ago. And the goal would obviously to build that up again going forward in the future as opportunities arise.
For fiscal year 25-26, we are projecting a balanced budget with no surplus or deficit, with revenues and expenditures both projected to come in at 50,060,167. This slide identifies the top general fund revenue sources proposed for fiscal year 25-26, as well as their change compared to the prior year 24-25. The largest general fund revenue source, the card club taxes, is projected to come in lower than the prior year's budget amount. Some of the categories with expected increases from the prior year are, of course, motor vehicles in lieu, parking lot rental lease, and most noticeably the operating transfer, in which will be an operational transfer from cannabis to the general fund to cover aquatic center / recreational operational expenses. And we'll cover a little bit more in detail on the next slide. Now, the cannabis fund balance at 6/30/25 is expected to be 400,000. In fiscal year 25-26, the city is expected to receive 1.1 million in community benefit payments, as well as 1.7 million in community benefits operating fees, bringing the projected cannabis fund balance to 3.25 million. As mentioned, an operational transfer of 80% of cannabis funds is to be transferred to the general fund to cover aquatic center operations. And this would result in a projected transfer of about 2.6 million in fiscal year 25-26.
And Manuel, I think, so as every budget has a little bit of a different story from the previous year and the year before, I think top 3 bullet point stories is the cannabis revenue transfer, the aquatic center expenditures, and then beyond that's just general cost increases is probably the third point there. This is a number that we're just going to have to watch very closely as we do all of our revenues, but especially significant revenues. And to give an idea of how much certainty is involved here, the 400,000, that's a certain number that has already been received or will expect to be received. I think 100,000 of it is probably in the 95% certain range. Then the remaining 100,000 that's on the second line there is if there are 7 development agreements, payments those that have not paid will be due predominantly within 60 days of their DAs becoming effective. So those times are coming up quick. And then on top of that, by December 31st, if all currently approved to the degree that they're approved. There still needs to be a second reading for tonight's public hearing, but they would have to pay their $100,000 annual benefit again in January 1. So we've already got 400,000. There are some $100,000 benefit payments that are due for at least four recently approved development agreements, including the two that passed on first reading tonight, and assuming they will pass going forward. And then that would leave 7 that will owe $100,000 payments again on January 1st. So that's with no cannabis retail opening. And then also, we do have a projection built in, and this is probably, I think, the one that we have to watch the closest. What we've done is use some general estimates, and the basis for it is to say if there are 7 development agreements and all 7 stores were open and they were open for half of a fiscal year, at the low end of what the estimation was for tax revenue, you'd be looking at about $250,000 per store times 7 stores. That number could be if only 3 or 4 were open, if the market is actually there to support those numbers. If 3 or 4 were to be open and 3 weren't open before the end of the fiscal year, the presumption is they would get the market share that the other stores would have had they were open. So that's the number that we're going to have to watch the closest, is actual stores opening and the actual receipts that come into the city from those. But the first 2 lines should be pretty certain. And there is some room here. Our projected total fund balance at the end of next fiscal year, if none of it was touched, would be 3.25 million, of which we're recommending a transfer of 2.6. So there's already some room. If we're short by $650,000, there still would be enough to fund the aquatics programming in that for this first fiscal year. So that's a lot of talk and a lot of numbers and a lot of estimations. Manuel and I, kind of going through this and also just looking at how these development agreements have gone, believe that this is a fair estimation. It would be very easy to go extreme in one end to show all 7 stores are open and they're all performing at the top end. It would also be very easy to go the other direction and say, we assume they're not going to execute their DAs, they're not going to pay the $100,000, they're not going to open by June 1st. That seems to be just as unreasonable as you hear from the operators, especially the last 3 to 4 operators seem to be have facilities that are really very close to being ready to open. And our estimations are not that any open until January 1st, which is still almost 8 months away, and then at reduced levels. So we feel pretty confident in these numbers, but these will be things that we're watching very closely over the next, really hitting in the next 45 to 60 days, and then carrying through the next 4 to 5 months. And then we will obviously come back if it looks like there's going to be some shortfalls or if the numbers are more to the positive, but we feel confident in the estimations that we have here. Thanks, man.
Thank you. So this slide provides a breakdown by percentage of the general fund revenue sources for the city. And just to point out, the top 10 revenue sources make up approximately 87.5% of the city's total general fund revenue.
And Manuel, I think sorry to keep stopping, but there's some important things. If you look at the card club tax revenue, if you go back to, let's say, June of 2019, I think that number would be in the closer to the 50% range, probably in the 45 to 50% range. So there has been a purposeful reduction in the reliance on the card club revenues over the last 5 or 6 years on the part of the council, and then as implemented by staff. So I don't have that number in front of me, but I know that number was well into the 45 to 50% range. So it isn't that the card club taxes are lower either. It's that the other revenue sources have been grown since that through. A couple other things that I haven't mentioned is even just billboard revenues. The 2 billboards that are on the 710 freeway, the city, just from a guaranteed perspective, receives almost $300,000 per year just from those billboards. In addition, we accrue the benefit of having free advertising for city services too. So those are some things that we didn't have 5 or 6 years before when we started to try to reduce the reliance on those revenues.
Thank you. This next slide provides us with a visual of the historical performance of the Bicycle Casino in recent history. The most noticeable decline occurred in the fiscal years 20 and 21, of course, due to the COVID pandemic. For fiscal year 24-25, casino revenue is projected to come in lower than the adopted amount due, of course, to significant construction activity in the beginning of the portion of the fiscal year. For fiscal year 25-26, casino revenue is projected to come in at about 19 million. This slide provides a breakdown of the general fund expenditures by category for fiscal year 25-26 and the change compared to the prior fiscal year. The most significant increase being the personnel and contractual service categories, which make up about 91% of the total general fund expenditure budget.
And Manuel, just if we kind of look at this budget again, if you look at your own personal budget, you have your revenues, that's usually your job, your income, and you have the other side, it's the expenditures, all your bills. The first few slides that we talked about with card club revenues, sales tax, motor vehicle fees, things like that, were the revenue side of it, where the money is coming in. We're now talking about the expenditure side of it. So there's two pieces to the budget that you really have to build independent of each other and then weave them together to see how to make things fit and how to make things line up. And so this is now onto the expenditure side of it after several slides of revenue side.
This slide provides greater detail of the personnel service category for the general fund, which makes up approximately 63.6% of general fund expenditures. For fiscal year 25-26, the most significant increase will, of course, be salaries, CalPERS retirement contributions costs, as well as part-time salaries and other benefits as well.
And Manuel, I think on the salaries part of it, we haven't got to the positions yet, but we're not recommending or requesting any new positions. This is predominantly related to the final pay increase from the 3-year labor agreement that the council approved. The third increase occurs for the police department occurred about a month ago.
April.
And then for everybody else occurs in about another 3 weeks.
June 1st. Yeah.
And that increase is predominantly what the increases on the salaries. CalPERS retirement costs go up depending on the CalPERS investment performance. And then the part-time numbers up significantly, predominantly related to the aquatic center programming for 6 to 8 months of the year.
This next slide provides an overview of the full-time positions for each department. For fiscal year 25-26, there will be 156 full-time budgeted positions. One note for police, there was a change from 77 to 75, and this is as a result of a funding agreement between the City of Bell Gardens and the Montebello Unified School District, in which had previously provided funding for 2 school resource officers. Now this agreement is no longer in effect for fiscal year 25-26.
And so just if you follow on the line that says police, back there for the fiscal year, Montebello Unified was looking at trying to figure out what they were doing, with their police force, basically. So the council approved in that budget 2 positions that were directly funded by Montebello Unified. I think it was about $350,000, $360,000. Chief Fairfield at the time and also current Chief Camacho understood there was a direct funding, and if that funding went away and those need for services were to go away, that barring some other direction from council or some other need for services, we would remove those 2 positions as we wouldn't need those officers to be stationed out there at the schools anymore. So that's really the only change that we have here related to the removal of that funding.
Thank you. So here we have a breakdown of the proposed aquatic center expenditures for fiscal year 25-26. With the aquatic center set to be completed, I believe, October of 2025, it will be operational for approximately half of the 25-26 fiscal year. And these expenditures are as follows: salaries, part-time, which we believe will come out to about $303,000. Maintenance and supply, which are expected to come in at about $23,000. And this, of course, includes office supplies, special supplies, uniform and protective clothing, postage, publications, contractual services, which we believe will be about $1.8 million. And this, of course, are utilities, electrical, natural gas, water, pool chemicals, janitorial services, contractual services. This portion might be a little bit more than half a year, I believe. I think once it's up and running, it probably would be more between about 8 to 10 months of actual continuous operation of maintenance. And then, of course, capital outlay, which are furniture and equipment, facility improvements, and other equipment. And overall, we believe the projected aquatic center operational costs for 25-26 will be about 2.2 million.
And those are additional costs. So some of the part-time costs already existed in the rec community services budget for lifeguards and things of that nature. And also on these numbers too, we're using the utilities, chemicals is a significant cost there that the city hasn't had to pay since we haven't run a pool. We haven't heated a pool. We haven't been using electricity to filter a pool. So these numbers we think we'll be able to refine once the pool gets up and running, and as we put together the next budget, which would be FY 26-27, we should have a really strong handle on those exact numbers. So those numbers could come down a little in future budgets depending on how things actually look.
Thank you. So here we have an overview of the contractual services component of the general fund expenditures. This includes liability insurance, professional services, as well as other warranties and subscriptions. Now the category comes in at about 14.1 million and comprises about 28.1% of the general fund expenditure budget. And now some of these increases include increases to our California JPI insurance premiums from last year's projections. This includes increases to the rates for workers' comp, property coverage, and miscellaneous coverage. Others include increases to the Community Development Housing Division contractual services, due of course to increased operational expansion, including the divisions at community outreach and assistance. Other increases, of course, are the utilities associated with the aquatic center, electrical, natural gas, pool chemicals, and also the increase in recreation and community services, contractual services for things such as janitorial services, equipment, facility and maintenance, also as a result of the aquatic center's inaugural year. Here we have an overview of the departmental supplies, which for fiscal year 25-26 will be about 1.3 million, or about 2.6% of the total general fund expenditure budget. And this is about 235,000 increase from the prior year. Here we have an overview of the capital outlay, which is, of course, our one-time purchases to acquire or improve long-term assets. This is about 2.4 million, or about 4.8% of the general fund expenditure budget, with an increase of about expected increase of about 203,000 for the year. And this is primarily, of course, some IT related software, hardware increases, primarily server upgrades, new power backup and firewall, as well as IT purchase improvements for the new AV system at Veterans Park, as well as the expansion of the door remote access facilities across the city facilities. And of course, although there are overall capital outlay is expected to increase for fiscal year 25-26, it is offset by reductions in other departments in those categories. Of course, from year to year, things change for department. They might not need a specific item or a specific service. So of course, it will drop and then it gets offset by someone else. So that's the general review of capital outlay. Now here we have an overview of the transfers out category. Now this consists of transfers out to other city funds, and it's approximately 1.8 million, or about 3.8%. And now this saw a significant decrease from the prior year. And this is, of course, primarily due to the decreased need of transfers to gas tax, Prop A, and Measure A. The one commitment that did increase, though, was the overall retiree health benefit commitment, which is set to, or is expected to increase by about 300,000 for 25-26. Now here we have the total debt service commitment for fiscal year 25-26, which is approximately 609,000 for the year. This includes lease debt payments of about 410,000 and about 186,000 for energy savings lease payment agreements. And as of June 30th, 2024, the city's net pension liability is 53,283,000 per its audited financial statements. Oh, to the, oh, I'm not sure what happened here. Yeah.
Blue pie is.
Take a guess. The
Police week.
police is blue,
See, the,
and not
Is
just
there-
because they use the blue lights.
I think that covers it, Manuel, if it's,
So the blue is police. The yellow is the dark yellow is the public works. The gray is okay. Oh wait, there you go. The gray is recreation, and then the other big portion is finance and HR. So on the PowerPoint on the website, it actually shows the. There you go. There it is. That one.
representing the general fund expenditure percentage by department. So of course, for fiscal year 25-26, police is at 41.9, which is less than the prior year. Recreation is up, of course, with the new aquatic center operations. And as you can see, the other overall percentages by department. And here, of course, is the percentages, of course, is the same information. This just provides an overview of the proposed budget per division for 25-26 that the adopted in 24-25. You can see the difference between the two.
Manuel, I think if you could go back to that
Sure,
one,
of
just,
course,
sorry,
of
I'm
course.
looking
Not a
at an
problem.
old budget here while we're talking. One of the, if you go back to the pie chart. So we always, because the police department's obviously the largest source of expenditures by department, and that would be true for most cities. Police and fire usually the highest cost, 24/7 operations, the pension costs are higher, things of that nature. So that's a number that we watch pretty regularly, and we usually compare it to the previous year. So you'll see that there's a slight decrease in the police department as a percentage of total expenditures. That number probably was closer to the 50% range going back about 5 years ago. And what's happened is the police department, we still spend more money on the police department than we did 5 or 6 years ago. But we don't spend more on the police department relative to public works, recreation and community services, and also community development with the advent of the ordinance for rent stabilization and tenant protection. So it isn't I think it's just seen as, yeah, I'm looking at the budget from fiscal year 19-20, the police department was 53% of the budget as opposed to 41.9% of the budget. Yet at the same time, there are still more positions than there were 5 or 6 years ago, and the overall expenditures are significantly higher. So that really is just a testament to significant amount of resources being put into the community from a non-police perspective, and it's not meant to be a detriment or a negative to the police department, as we're still spending more money in that area. So something that we look at every time we put the budget together. We don't shoot for a goal to show that the police department will be less. I don't think in any year we've really aimed for that goal, yet that's been the result from where the focus has been of the resources. So, thanks, man.
Thank you. And finally, here we have our all cities fund budget for fiscal year 25-26. Of course, this comprises, of course, not just the general fund, but all the other funds that are part of the overall city fund budget. So it consists of 36 city funds. The overall city budget is 78,793,000. Of course, general fund, special revenue funds, capital project funds, enterprise funds, as well as assessor agency funds.
So Manuel, I think this is one thing that I just always like to point out to the council. I think Councilmember Barson and I talk about this pretty regularly over the years. The general fund, you can look at that as really your discretionary revenue. So that's money that comes in from the card room. That's money that comes in from sales tax, from property tax. Those are pretty discretionary on where those funds are spent. The revenue that comes from the card room does not have to be spent on services provided to the card room. There are some fees included in there that aren't quite discretionary, but they're not a significant portion of that $50 million. The remaining funds, for the most part, are restricted to be used for specific purposes. So special revenue funds, so if we get gas tax money that comes from the state, it's specifically required to be used for road repair, gutter repair, sidewalk repair. The only discretion is the physical location of where you make those repairs. But the money has to be spent in a special revenue fund. It's for a special, specific purpose. So while if somebody were to ask you if you're at the Contract Cities Conference or at a League of Cities Conference, what's your city's budget? The way that I would normally state it is just under $80 million for the total funds. General fund is 50 million. That information there, I think, would be most helpful to most people that you would speak to that are other colleagues in other cities. And it would show, I think, an informed answer on the part of the council. So $78 million total budget, $50 million general fund. So I think those are two numbers to walk away from kind of in your mind to think about the city's resources that are received and the city's resources that are used to provide services.
Thank you, sir. So that does conclude our presentation for this evening. I'll be more than glad to answer any questions that council might have on the topic.
Thank you so much for that, Manuel. Thank you again, city manager, and all the work that's gone into presenting this. I know literally, I think for the past 2 weeks, this has been the most discussion item of topic amongst every time I rolled up to City Hall, I feel like I always saw Manuel in the city manager's office and Mike was calling Manuel, and it's just been a big items, right? So again, I really appreciate all the time that's gone into this. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments in regards to the budget? Yes.
First off, I want to recognize the diligent work by the finance department and the city manager's office in preparing the budget. The clarity, transparency, the level of detail that you guys provided. It's a reflection of the commitment that you guys have to the responsible stewardship of our public funds and thorough planning during some uncertain times. Your ability to balance immediate needs such as recreation services and the infrastructure with long-term priorities is commendable. Thank you for your continued efforts for maintaining the stability while advancing our city's strategic goals. However, looking at this, I saw that we have several vacancies within some of our departments. Do we know what departments are most affected by these vacancies and how is it impacting the level of service?
So we start, Councilman, let me set the police department aside because that's usually where we'll experience most of the vacancies. So in the community development department, we had a vacant director position, which we filled. Also had a vacant city planner / planning manager, which an offer's been made and accepted. So we anticipate in 2 weeks, we'll have the candidate start that will fill that position. We have one recently vacated office assistant position. I may have the title a little bit wrong that we'll have a recruitment open for. The Rec Community Services Department from a full-time perspective has an admin specialist position vacant due to a retirement. They're working on crafting the recruitment so that it is more finely tuned to the specifics of that position as opposed to general nature of office specialists. So there's a focus on social media outreach and things of that nature that are critical to that position. As I go through, I think Public Works from a full-time perspective is full. Admin services, finance admin services, the positions are full. There's one HR tech position that we have a temp filling in that's getting us a little bit of cost savings, but we're getting the work done. And then it comes back to the police department, which I think at the last presentation we had 6 vacancies. I'll let the chief talk about the constant effort in recruitment there.
Yes. So currently as of today, we have 43 officers and I'm budgeted for 51. So that gives me 8 vacancies. I have 3, actually I have 4 in backgrounds. 3 of them have pretty much already passed. We're only waiting for their medical report. So if I hire all 4 of them, then I'm only going to be down probably another 4. how does that affect the quality of service? I would say it does affect, it affects the service because right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to staff, for example, our special investigations unit. So I'm missing two there. Um, our general investigations, we're missing another two there. So I think once those additional three officers or four officers, if I could get them hired within the next 2 months, we're going to be able to do a lot more. For example, we're going to be able to have a full gang unit, and we're going to have a full general investigations unit. So recruitment is still ongoing. It's just, I'll give you an example. So we started with about 20 applicants in the last month or 2 months, and we invited them for the test, and only 5 were able to pass the written test. Out of those 5 that went up to Rio Honda for our physical agility exam, only 2 of them passed. And then once it came down to the interview, only 1 passed. So that's the struggle and that's the challenge, but we're continuing to go out there and just try to bring in the best. You know, the concern for me as a chief is always looking for the best qualified candidates. I'm not gonna, lower the bar, so I'm gonna just continue doing what we're doing, and we've been really lucky. And out of the 4 that are in backgrounds, they're all pretty much considered laterals, so they'll be right into the FTO program, and then I think it's not gonna take long before they're on their own.
And thank you. I appreciate the transparency and, the level of caliber of person that you're looking to serve our community. So just, I say, continue doing that. And you're right. Like, let's not settle, but try to get the best people.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate, and thank you, Councilmember De Leon Sanchez, for bringing up this point. It's tough. I know all departments all over LA County are having a tough time in recruitment, right? I know we've had just this past month, we had one of our best officers, Lieutenant Aguirre, retire as well. So I mean, it's a tough situation, but I do want to commend the effort that our police department has in trying to recruit the very best when it comes to servicing our community. Does any member of the council have any more questions or comments? Yep, Councilwoman.
With the city projecting $3.3 million deficit for this past year, primarily due to decreased revenues from the Bicycle Club Casino and increased expenditures from the labor agreements and other costs, are there any contingency plans in place if similar revenue shortfalls occur for the 2025-26 year, especially concerning the Bicycle Club?
Yes, council member. So they would be the similar contingency plans that most cities would have. Obviously, we know that we're reliant, even though we brought it down to, I think we showed 37 or 38% of the general fund revenues come from the card room. So if that one revenue source were to be cut in half, there's approximately 19% of our revenues are missing. So I kind of look at it like several parachutes that you would throw if you all of a sudden were accidentally pushed out of a plane and some revenues, were to not materialize. So what we would look at immediately if there was another dip as there was before, for the first few weeks, their fund balance is what's used to still cover payroll and to still pay bills and that things of that nature. Fund balance is always your first parachute that you look to see, is this a revenue drop that's going to continue on for some period of time? Is it a short-term thing? If it's a short-term thing, you recognize that there's a revenue drop that's going to come back. You look at probably some one-time expenditures to see, are there some things that you were going to purchase, whether that's vehicles or some of the items we listed, some IT hardware and things of that, to see if we can offset those losses. If it were going to be a continued decline in revenue, the contingency plan that's in place is essentially the contingency plan that was put in place, in fact, when COVID closed down the card room for 10 to 11 months. So we went back, as Manuel stated, 91% of the general fund budget is salaries and benefits. So any material cost savings that you're going to get to offset that revenue reduction has to come from salaries and benefits. So the first thing we would do is would be to freeze vacant positions that aren't of a critical nature. So emergency response, it's generally going to be the police department. We would then also look to see Are there any services that we're providing that, that as positions become vacant, we can leave those positions vacant? We don't get other funding for their enhanced services that the city's not required to provide. Maybe the services where you don't provide resources, uses direct people to resources, things of that nature. And then we ultimately, to be frank, would go back to the bargaining units, to the labor groups to say, we've got a significant revenue shortfall. We always have management rights to do layoffs if it were to come to that. The employee groups that we have in the city of Bell Gardens are very reasonable. They showed that reasonableness multiple times over and over again, but especially during COVID, where they agreed to furloughs that we hoped would be temporary, but could have been permanent. Luckily, they ended up being temporary, but the bargaining units understood the consequences there. So kind of in order: fund balance, cutting expenditures where we could, one-time expenditures, things of that nature, then freezing vacant positions, looking to meet with the bargaining units to see where we could get some reductions, whether those were temporary or permanent. And then the final step after that is, if you ever lose a revenue that is just not going to come back, you generally are going to use your fund balance as a glide to what is your new level of normal for being able to provide resources for the residents. So those are things that we watch on a bi-weekly, monthly perspective, that we keep a handle on. And I think the things that we really need to keep an eye on for this coming fiscal year are the card room revenues. There's still a tribal lawsuit that's in play that, even though it may take several years, takes a lot of time and energy from the card room operators. That's time and energy that they aren't able to focus on their operations, and money as well. And then on top of that, the Attorney General is looking at regulations that would essentially do what the tribal lawsuit seeks to do, through the rulemaking process, which is also a pretty lengthy process, but neither of those processes are positive relative to the current condition of private card rooms. I believe the next level on the revenue side of things that we will be watching closely is the cannabis revenue. DAs have been approved, some development agreement, initial community benefit payments have been made, but obviously there are no retail locations that are up and running. So that would be the next level of revenue concern. And then the final level of revenue concern would be that's shared among all cities in the state of California, which is there any negative economic downturn where sales tax is impacted? If consumers stop spending 10% of their money, the money they spend on food and medicine, it does not subject to sales tax. So mostly people will still buy food and buy medicine. It's the discretionary expenditures, clothing, electronics, entertainment, things of that nature, that we would look to see if we would have revenue declines on the sales tax side of things, would be the next big hit. So I think we're in a spot that I think overall we would describe as stable, with kind of 50-50, opportunity, nothing that would require the city or that staff would recommend to make any kind of cuts, but would also request that the council be cognizant of this as well. We came in with a balanced budget. It was, I think, the most difficult balance to budget in the budget to balance in the time that I've been here. It relies on card room revenues staying stable. It relies on cannabis revenue to transfer in to cover the cost of operating the aquatic center. And it requires a vacancy rate of 7.5%, which we normally don't try to. When you ask about vacant positions, it's about recruitment. That vacancy rate isn't meant to be a goal. It's meant to be a reality budget. We have 8 to 12 positions vacant at any given time. So to allocate resources or to bring an unbalanced budget or to cut services to account for positions that we likely won't fill isn't responsible either. It does give us some fluff for Manulife to breathe easier But that's not what our job is supposed to be here for, is to make sure the council understands what we believe to be the real resources that are available to provide services. So that's a long-winded answer, but I hope it demonstrates that there is a well thought out process here. And to somewhat simplify, there's 4 or 5 parachutes that we would throw until we got to a new glide point. And we're confident that we would be able to accommodate that. It wouldn't be fun, and it would rely on, a lot of work from the council to residents, to stakeholders, to employee groups and things of that nature, but we believe that we'd be able to get it done.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I think it's important for all of us to understand where we're at, and then any plans that you guys have in place to see any potential, issues within our budget. But thank you very much, Manuel, for putting it together, and City Manager.
Thank you so much for that question. And thank you, City Manager, for that answer. And also good to know that we have multiple parachutes to kind of throw out, and, we'll go ahead and pull one, and then we'll pull the other one, and, we'll figure it out. I know that there's other cities that are trying to pull parachutes, but they don't even have a backpack on to pull. So, I'm glad that we're not in that position. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I don't want to make it too long because I know this is like a marathon of a meeting today, but
It's a great meeting. I love it.
to expand on the analogy of the parachutes, and to answer one of my colleagues' question from earlier, in regards to the cannabis shops, when is enough enough? I understand, and I feel the question. I understand where it's coming from. I think it's coming from a good place. So to answer that question, I see the shops that we're looking to get approved. I see them as a potential for like a parachute, right? Like a safeguard. I'm concerned about the budget being a little bit lower right now. 3.3 million, is it? And so to answer that question, and very respectfully, I just want to make sure that we can get that revenue in, so that we can do our programming for the kids and the entire community. Because there are other sort of like rebuttals. Oh, wait, if like 4 open only, then they're gonna get the business of the other 3. That could be true, and I hope that it is true. But just in case, I just want to make sure we maximize our potential for the most revenue, so that we can use it for the right things. And just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you. Peter, because Jorge wasn't here when no, I'm just kidding.
About that. I started with like maybe 3/4 of my gallon, and I'm already down to the last quarter, so I'm trying to finish. I missed your question. Oh, okay.
He
Oh,
was
okay.
addressing my when what was it? When is enough enough? Question about earlier, which yeah. I
Great.
ask you guys, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? You sure? Okay. All right. All right. Seeing none. Again, I just want to echo the sentiment of the council. I know it's tough during this time of the season, for not only our city, but I know all over jurisdictions throughout the state, throughout the nation. I think a word to summarize these times, to Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez's point, it's uncertainty, right? We don't know what to expect. Especially with a lot of the cities are trying to plan for the future. We're trying to see in the next 5 years, what can we do? I mean, this item of trying to diversify the revenue has been in the making for the past 4, 5, 6 years or so. And the fact that we're at this point where we've made so much progress to finally take that piece of what used to be 50% of the budget to now 37% of the budget, that's huge progress, right? What I would share is, I'd say we continue trying to find alternatives to diversifying the budget. I know in the past I brought forward, and I know Councilman Barcena brought a point about making a hot Cheetos tax or some sort. But there's different. There's like if we could tax, we have 16 liquor stores. I've said it in the past. There was a way that we can go after alcohol sales throughout the city. Something like that we can put it, even if we were to do a tax measure, put this item on the ballot, where we can try to get folks the residents would, I feel, overwhelmingly support an item like this. right? Because as we approach all these items of cannabis, and I made this point not only to this council, but in the past councils, the predecessors who were here, we talk about cannabis being this dark thing amongst our kids and just how it's being perceived, but we take a blind eye to alcohol and the impacts it's had on countless families, right? So I'll kind of conclude it at that. Again, thank you, city manager. Thank you, Manuel, for all your work in going through this and all the departments. It's tough to go back to your staff and then tell them, hey, you have to work out the numbers and make them pencil out. So thank you to Public Works, PD, Recreation Community Services, and even here with HR and admin services. So really appreciate it. With that said,
If I may, Jorge,
yeah,
I just want to
absolutely.
say I appreciate your perspective on the liquor stores. I know that you voted no on all of our cannabis related items, but I appreciate the fact that you point that out, right? That it's not leveled off. It's a little bit there's a discrepancy there in how we view liquor stores, how we view alcohol, and how we view what we're dealing with right now. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks. All right. If there's no more questions or do we have to do a roll call for this? No? Just motion? All right. Can we get a motion for this item?
Motion to approve,
Receive and file.
receive and file.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, ayes have it. Moving on to the final item, which is City Council Successor Agency Member Comments, beginning with Councilmember Barton.
All right, thank you. First of all, congratulations on working on this budget. Everything looks great to me. So I know it hasn't been easy because of the lower revenue, and we need to really trim and make sure that we're being efficient. So thank you to the city manager and staff. Really appreciate it. I'm very excited about the event that's coming up this week. I want to make sure I invite each one of my colleagues. Please come by. It's on Thursday from 6 to 9. We do have a local resident that's an artist, well-known. Her name is DJ Irene. And we also have a band that's already performed a few times in the city. It's called Conjunto Nueva Ola. And this is not a coincidence that they're coming to the skate park. I've been pushing to really put the skating community in the eye of the community, right? Because they tend to be pushed aside. I grew up skateboarding here in the city of Bell Gardens, and I can definitely tell you that a lot of the kids that are out there practicing this sport, many times they don't get enough attention from their own families, even their own community, right? So I wanna push for more programming for them. I wanna make sure that we acknowledge their existence, right? And that's why this event has a combination of cumbia, which is a more traditional type of music and art, but also electronic music with DJ Irene, and it's also cross-generational. You're gonna see a lot of people that are a little bit older, and you're gonna see like very, very young people. So we keep trying to grow this event. This is our third year. Yeah, this is our third year already, and I appreciate everyone's support, and I invite everyone to be there. It's important for these kids to see you guys out there, especially Jorge, because I know that he's been skating around the city. So why not come by with your penny board and try to go in the bowl or something? No, it's not a challenge. It's not a challenge. I'm just inviting him to come by.
I use my skateboard strictly for transportation purposes. I will make that clear. I do not know how to
And that's
kickflip or
fine.
do any
That's
tricks or
fine.
any of that.
You can ride around it in a loop at the skate park.
I will go in a circle, but I do gotta admit, it takes some talent to do that.
Yes, I'll be there. I don't know if I'm gonna skate because I'm 41 already, guys. I don't want to run any more risks. I think I'm following the example of our city manager, how he hung up the skateboard a couple of years back. So I think I'm right behind them. But anyway, going back to some of the public comment from today, I wanted to also answer my colleague's remark. She said, I think Councilmember Barcena has something to say.
Because you were scoffing at me, you were like,
No, I was going
yeah,
like
you were.
this.
You
I was
were.
going like this with my
So that's why.
right? I don't know if this is called coughing or I'm not familiar with the word. But because I'm an immigrant, I and I think you've seen this before, and we've made like eye contact when there's been comments about immigrants. And in this particular case, that was happening again. So, I have like a funny bone whenever it's something against, like against immigrants is said. So I was like going like this. Yeah, I was going like that about the comment because it's hard for me to believe that some people think that way about human beings, that they need to be pushed out of our society, that they need to be kicked out of our country. So that's what it was. So I apologize if it was confusing, but whenever something is said about immigrants, I do have a reaction. I'm an immigrant myself, and it's just heartbreaking to see what's happening right now, not only here locally, but across the country, right? They're sending people to basically concentration camps in other countries. Some of them have no criminal record. So there's just a lot of ugly things happening in our society right now. So yeah, I'm just a little sensitive when it comes to any talks that have to do with immigration and human rights violations. So I apologize if I sent out like confusing, but I think, I don't know why they put us like right across from each other. But it's happened.
mayor.
It's happened in the past where like I think it was a similar comment, and I was like getting all like this, and then you looked at me and you kind of like laughed, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I gotta chill. But that's what it is. It's an anti-immigrant rhetoric.
For so much for that, Council Member Barcena. And I'm hoping that our city manager does join us for that skate jam, and he maybe takes that skateboard out one last ride.
My mind and heart say yes, my right Achilles says don't do it. So I'll be at the skate jam. I just won't be, I'll be jamming, not skating.
How about our chief? You cycle? Okay. Let's we'll bring the bike out. We'll go ahead and have a good. I can cycle too. Next, we got Councilwoman Guillen.
So I think he left, but I'd like to recognize John's work in our community when we needed somebody there. And like the city manager said, he didn't just come and take a seat. He took the seat and worked. He was able to get us through a little period of uncertainty. And I want to welcome Mr. Acosta. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to working along with you to continue working for Bell Gardens. And in terms of immigrants, I did want to share some stuff. Estoy orgullosa de las fronteras que cruzaron mis padres. Estoy aquí sentada por ellos, para personas como ellos, y muchas de mis decisiones están a cuestión de ello. Para explicarles un poco, mi trabajo laboral es sobrellevar investigaciones con nuestra comunidad indocumentada. Buscarles alivio para que puedan obtener documentación. Y al igual que mi colega, también me duelen, no me gustan esos comentarios, pero al final del día hay que respetar. Y pues para sumarles, aquí estoy, aunque los votantes que votaron y la comunidad que no puede votar, yo represento interés de todos.
Thank you for that, Councilwoman Guillen. We'll go ahead and pass it over to, I've been calling her Councilwoman this whole time, but I'll say Dr. De Leon Sanchez.
Thank you. I also want to thank John for all his hard work. He came here and it was like, didn't skip a beat right away, got to work and nothing fell through the cracks and things kept going. And welcome, Mr. Costa. We look forward to working with you. Also, thank you once again to Manuel and Mike. I know it's always difficult to put together the budget and present it, having to go through everything. And I know the intense labor and work and time invested in that. So thank you. Thank you so much to all the staff that participate in Student Leadership Day. It's one of my favorite events. I'm glad that we're able to partner up with Montebello Unified School District and bring students here into this building. Many of the students, it was their first time that they stepped foot inside City Hall. And so them being able to see people that look like them, that have these different jobs and these different positions, opens up avenues for them, from getting all of our business cards, even though we may not have all been present, knowing that they can contact us. So thank you so much for the staff that was here showcasing the work that we do. I'm really excited about having the Mexican consulate. I'm not going to say the word in the R word because I will butcher it, but having them here come, I know that being a dual citizen myself from Mexico and US, it was very difficult getting my Mexican citizenship because I did drive several times out to LA and was turned away for various reasons. And so I had to go to a neighboring city that did have the Mexican consulate there, and they were very helpful. So I'm hoping that our residents are able to get those services, through our community. And lastly, I would like to request staff and the city attorney to bring back an urgency moratorium ordinance to temporarily pause the processing of applications for a cannabis retail use for consideration at our next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Denon Sanchez. I'll pass it over to Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa.
Thanks so much. I want to thank all of staff and my colleagues for such a productive meeting. I also want to thank John, who's not here at the moment, but he just hit the ground running. He kept the momentum going, and it was pretty admirable. And also, along with that, welcome aboard, Mr. Acosta. We're very excited to work along with you. And on another note, I did forget to mention that I did attend the ICA board meeting, and just a brief overview. We did not reach full quorum at the meeting, so therefore, the details were pretty minimal again. So I did have a new update, and that is, the ICA just found a new attorney. Onboarding is still in process. So other than that, I will obtain more details on the upcoming seminar as information becomes available. So just wanted to touch base with that.
Thank you so much for that, Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa. For my comments, I got a couple of things that I want to mention. First off, I want to thank our community development staff, everyone who, for John for his time here, to our new director, Manuel Acosta, who's coming from a nearby city right next door, right? And I got to chat a little bit with him right now, and I just I'm excited to see all the projects that we're going to do here in the city, and we have a lot of development coming towards our community. I want to mention, give a specific shout out to the housing division staff that we have there. I saw that they're literally doing outreach door to door, knocking on residents' doors, informing them about their rights as tenants, encouraging them to, if they haven't registered already with the rental registry, to do that, trying to get in contact with the landlords throughout the city. So I'm very, very happy to see that sort of outreach is done. I've always said that nothing makes a bigger impact on the residents than you yourself going personally to that door and introducing yourself, and especially now if you get to go representing the city. So having our staff do that, I really appreciate it. It is difficult. I'm not going to say it's not easy to go out there day to day, and especially just how it was these past couple of days, with the heat wave. But I'm glad to see that we're taking that approach, and I do think it's necessary, not only with the housing division, but other programs when we're trying to get more information out to our residents. I also want to give a shout out to, on the consent calendar, we had one of the items be the SB1 funds that were coming down to our public works team here. Obviously, here, and one of the reasons why we pay so much in gas prices here throughout the nation is because of the gas tax. Those funds are then used back to repair our roads. So in this case, we're getting repairs for the streets of Fostoria, Muller, Jaboneria, Eastern, and Geffard. And I'm very happy to see that we're going to put those funds back in to our community. And a lot of times people complain about, oh, gas is too expensive and whatnot, but here we're clearly seeing that they're going to be used back to revitalize our roads. So I'm assuming this is already going to be in process, but as folks drive through that, or as progress starts, ensuring that folks know that, hey, this is being provided through SB1 funds, and obviously the council supporting this item. I also want to extend that, invite everybody to participate in the Bell Gardens oil recycling and oil filter here this Saturday. I do that every year. This is usually the time when I do my oil changes, and I also like that they give me a free catch can. So I get a free oil filters easily, $19. Usually buy the mobile one, and it's $19, and then the oil itself you're looking at about, depending on which one you get, conventional or synthetic, you'll spend at least minimum $20, maximum you'll probably spend a good 35 for some good oil. But I really enjoy doing that. It's kind of peaceful to me. And I like to invite everybody to participate, to change your oil if you can, if you choose to. Let's see. I also want to mention that in the beginning of June, we're going to have the torch run. I know that that's happening. That's going to be exciting. This is essentially a run where all the PDs participate, and it's for the Special Olympics, from my understanding. And I'm going to be participating along with our chief and various members from our police department. And I'm pretty sure everybody else is welcome to participate. I don't know if our city manager is going to participate in that torch run, but I did it last year, and I believe it's 3 miles going south to the city, and then we'll go. We can do it back too, but I might just do one way. I might not do the full the full 6 miles, but that's exciting. I also want to mention, what else do we got? Student Leadership Day. I know Dr. De Leon Sanchez already mentioned it, but unfortunately I missed that event. But I want to thank all the work that went into it to making this event highly successful. Thank you to our Bell Gardens recreation team that got dressed up and were waiters and waitresses to our students. And I'm very happy to see that, because again, it goes to show that they're willing to come back and get back, and they're seeing perhaps maybe other students that they were just literally in high school with a couple years ago. So thank you to everybody in the team, and all the collaboration between our city, the school district, and various cities throughout our region. I also want to thank, and I know we just had a presentation, but thank you all the work for the Mexican consulate item. This item was very special to me, and I'm very happy to see that it's full in effect, and I'm excited for June 3rd. I know we had a couple of cleanups with our PD. We also had cleanups with Public Works for the Clean California grant. We had one in Darwell Park, we had one in Gallen Park, and we had one in Marlow Park. And the Marlow Park one was very great because we invited some of the high school students to come out. Miss Underwood was right there, and we got some of the folks from the wrestling team come out. So that, again, it was really successful. I know for the Gallen and the Darwell one, the rain caught us. The rain did not scare me. But we had a good time. And it's good that we get to go do the cleanups in the small little parks. For those who don't know, Gallen Park is my closest park to where I live. So I was really happy to see that we were out there supporting that little small park. Finally, I want to conclude by saying, this last weekend, it was Mexican Mother's Day and Mother's Day yesterday. So I want to wish every mother throughout the city, and obviously our staff, happy Mother's Day. And thank you to El Kiosquito, members of the community here in the city of Bell Gardens, along with Vida Sana, that hosted their Mother's Day get-together today. And I know a couple of us got to attend, and just really appreciate all the power that these residents, that these mujeres hold in our community. I always tell them that, they're literally the oil that keeps the engine moving throughout the city. So I don't know what's up with me and car puns and car things right now, but I just really appreciate all the work that goes into it. And with that said, if there's no more comments or questions or points of clarification, I will go ahead and conclude this meeting at 9:57 p.m. Thank you, everybody.